Handling exercises. Handling exercises benefit any dog, but are essential for shy dogs. These handling exercises are based on simple counter-conditioning to change your dog's emotional response to being touched. You will be training your dog to feel safe, calm, and relaxed when pet, rather than shying away. To do this, all you have to do is make handling the predictor of a high-level reinforcement. Choose an area to train that the dog feels safest in, perhaps the living room, or at a shelter, a more open area, and use the highest level of reinforcement possible. For most dogs, that means real meat or cheese. It is best to do the exercises with the dog off-leash so they don't feel trapped, or to have a long enough leash that the dog can choose to escape you if they wish. You don't want to make the dog feel trapped because they could possibly bite out of fear. Make sure the exercises are always done by an adult. If the dog backs away from you, simply wait until the dog chooses to come back to you. Don't follow the dog, let the dog come to you. If your dog becomes mouthy when touched, you can attach the dog's leash to his harness and tie him to something stable, so that if you raise criteria with handling too quickly, you can simply back away from the dog so they can't mouth your arms. The goal is to keep the dog calm and playing the game. If they ever want to back away, nip, or look fearful, start over from the beginning. During handling sessions, do not stare at the dog, blink often, and offer calming signals to let the dog know you are not a threat. This footage was taken from the first week that I got my new puppy, Tug. He's the puppy sitting in the front. As you can see, my other two dogs are very confident with being pet on the head and under the chin. But Tug would shy away or run away to stay out of reach if you would try to touch his face. Most dogs don't like having their face touched. So by doing these handling exercises, where you're conditioning your dog to have a new emotional response to being touched, you will make their life a lot less stressful in our society where everybody wants to reach and touch a dog as soon as they see them. Here is Tug a month later after I've done a ton of handling exercises with him. As you can see, he remains calm and relaxed as I pet him. He even seems to quite enjoy it. With conditioning, you can get your dog to love any sort of handling. Here you can see I'm pairing reaching with a click and a treat. I'm conditioning Tug to love a hand reaching towards him. It's no longer the predictor of punishment, but the predictor of a reinforcement. Some dogs really do not like being pet under the chin, so you can start the game out by feeding them a treat and touching them under the chin as you feed the treat. However, for conditioning to really happen, you have to make the touch the predictor of the treat. And to do that, you reach, touch, and as you're touching, you use a marker word like yes, yep, or a click, and then you give the treat. Here you can see the next step would be touching and also asking for eye contact rather than the dog just staring at the treat that you have. Here's some footage of me working with a puppy named Jamie from Loving Arms Animal Rescue and Adoption, the same place that I got Tug, my little puppy, from. Jamie loves being pet by the woman who's fostering her. However, any other person she shies away from or hides behind her foster's legs. What we are teaching her by doing handling exercises is not only to love handling, but that hands reaching and touching, grabbing aren't a bad thing, but a very reinforcing thing. So another thing you could do is if she walks up towards someone who's holding a treat, maybe they're holding a treat, you can say yes and feed her a treat. Now with her, it's pretty easy, it'd be really easy for them to feed her because she's not going to snap or, but with a dog that's shy and also reactive, if you give the stranger the treat to give to her, they're gonna do it in a way that's not like, here you go. They're gonna go like, oh, here's a treat, and then good boy, pat, 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 and then your dog is gonna go rawr or like bark in their face and get scared. So the more control you have over the situation, the better, which is you giving the treats. But with her, you could totally have your friends hold treats out, and as she goes over to them, you can say yes, and then give her a treat. So if she was next to you and this person comes to touch her, you can say yep, feed her the treat. Or you don't even have to say yep or yes if you want to make it really like that nonchalant, like you don't want people to know you're training your dog while you're touching them. The person touches her, you feed a treat. Touch equals treat, touch equals treat. It's like Pavlov. Here's the result of the handling exercises. A dog that was only comfortable with the foster petting her is now completely comfortable with someone she met only an hour ago. Building confidence by marking the dog for coming towards you. In this exercise, you will be clicking or saying yes if the dog makes any step in your direction. You can either sit on the ground and click the dog for each step he takes towards you, or you can move away from the dog while encouraging him to follow you. You can either hand the treat to the dog, drop the treat for the dog, or throw the treat behind the dog to give them the reward of getting further away from you again. Make sure that if you throw the treat for the dog that you don't scare the dog by moving your arm too quickly. A good idea is to have the dog at a distance first and throw treats to them so they can get used to the movement your hand makes when throwing a treat. Also, if you feed a dog a treat with your hand, withdraw your hand slowly rather than leaving the empty hand near the dog's face. This is because the dog can realize that once the reinforcement is gone, the creepy hand still remains, and that can scare dogs. The goal is to keep the dog as calm and relaxed as possible. So any step in my direction, I'm going to click and give her a piece of food. Just encouraging her, moving towards people is good. I see what you mean though, she's really shy, like she preferred to just sit on her own.
Yeah, like that's the first time I've ever seen her come to a person, you know? So like someone she's never met, because usually she just is like behind me at my legs.
Another thing you can do is like when she's on leash. When she's on leash and she sees someone, you can just feed her a treat. So she's just seeing people pass, she gets a treat, especially if she hasn't thought to go behind you yet. Teaching touch. The cue to touch an open hand is a great cue for shy dogs. The exercise is not only great for building confidence in shy dogs, but it's great also for teaching them that an outstretched hand is just an opportunity for reinforcement and not anything creepy. You can see how this exercise is really helping Beanie choose to come towards me. Beanie is a very shy dog that's not used to handling from strangers, so teaching him to touch will build his confidence before working on handling exercises. To teach the cue touch, simply outstretch your hand, and as the dog goes to sniff it, click or say yes the millisecond that their nose touches your hand. If your dog doesn't touch your hand in the initial steps, you can either try moving your hand or hiding your hand and representing your hand to get your dog to touch it. Try to refrain from touching the dog with your hand to teach them. This is footage of Tug's first lesson of learning touch. The next step would be teaching the dog to touch your hand even if you're a couple of steps away from them.